All right. So we're going to have another discussion. We're going to throw out some questions and have a conversation for a little while, and then we'll field your questions. Hopefully, we'll get in the beginning we'll get a good definition of what a B Corp is. But first, let's just go through, and if you could introduce yourself and what is your current company. And what is it? I guess maybe you could couch it in terms of sort of what is its, obviously what is the business, and also what is its mission?
Okay, I guess I'll kick us off. Hi everyone, I'm Andrea Chase. I'm the Executive Director of B Local Los Angeles, which is the nonprofit affiliation of all the certified B Corps in LA. I wear a few hats. I actually own 2 certified B corporations in addition to being the Director of Corporate Responsibility and Social Impact for Arbonne, which is now a certified B corporation as of a month ago as well. And Arbonne is a botanically based beauty brand that features all vegan products and is also dedicated to environmental wellness.
Awesome, thank you, Andrea. And thank you, Rob, for having us here.
Absolutely.
My name is Barragan. I am the treasurer for B Local Los Angeles. Work closely with both Anna and Andrea. I am currently working at Beneficial State Bank, a certified B Corp for-profit bank owned and governed by a nonprofit foundation of the same name, Beneficial State Foundation. My role there is as a client and treasury manager, so I work closely with portfolio management of our depository commercial clients. And we are proud to say we are one of the highest rated B Corps out there. Out of our score is 176 out of 200 from an 80 to 200 scale. Pleasure to be here.
Hi everyone. This is my first time being mic'd up, so if I look down, it's because I'm just like, what is that? My name is Anastasia Maier. Thank you, Rob, for having us. I'm General Counsel at the Los Angeles Cleantech Incubator, or LACI. Some of you may have heard of us. We're located in the Arts District. We're actually not a certified B Corp, but we're a nonprofit city hybrid. We came out of the Mayor's Fund. And what we do at LACI is we help startups that are in the clean and green technology space basically commercialize their products. So we're trying to build the infrastructure of basically a whole new economy using things like solar or battery storage, all of these kind of new technologies, and supporting the founders who are doing these amazing things here in the city of Los Angeles. Prior to working at LACI, I was partner at a law firm called Sustainable Law Group. Sustainable Law Group is where I get my B Corp roots, and actually how I found my first job was through the B Corp world. But Sustainable Law Group is a full service business law firm with a specialization in social enterprises, nonprofits, and green businesses.
Great.
And I'm on the board.
And yes, so you're all three board members for B Local, which is the umbrella organization for all B Corps in the greater Los Angeles area, right?
Exactly.
Okay. All right, so actually, before we go any further, let me just ask, show of hands, who's heard of B Corps? Okay.
Nice.
A lot of people. Well,
Awesome.
I mean, it's the select audience selects
We
itself.
don't get that
Okay,
many.
you are at the SEER Symposium, so we would expect a lot. Okay, keep your hands up for a second. Everyone who's heard of B Corps, wait, that's far fewer. Okay, everyone, keep your, okay, now keep your hands up, and if you have a very good idea of what a B Corp is. Okay, a little fewer. Okay, and then keep your hands up, or otherwise put them down, if you know the difference between a B Corp and a benefit corporation.
Ooh.
Yeah, see, tough one. Okay, so I think maybe before we go any further, let's get maybe a little definition. So let's start with, and we could just sort of send it down the aisle, maybe you could all sort of pile in. What is a certified B Corp?
Okay, I guess I'll kick it off. A certified B corporation is a for-profit company that has undergone a third-party auditing through the Business Impact Assessment Questionnaire by B-Lab, which is that nonprofit third-party auditor. The Business Impact Assessment is a benchmarking tool to measure your business. It asks you about 300 questions about every aspect of your business, from environment to community to governance to worker welfare. What am I missing? And your customers. And it measures your impact on all of those stakeholders. You have to earn a minimum of 80 points on it to become certified. And then you get audited. If you pass auditing, then you get to become a certified B Corp. So it was a long explanation, and that is for a good reason, because it is extremely arduous to become a certified B corporation.
Okay, so let's put a pin in that. So actually, I'm going to go to Anna and ask, so what is the difference between that and a benefit corporation?
Oh, great
Since you are
question.
the legal expert.
Yes, thank you. So a benefit corporation, in contrast to the B Corp, which we just heard Andrea tell us it's a third-party certification, a benefit corporation is the legal entity that you're going to file with the state of California, state of New York, wherever you are incorporated. And it's similar to a limited liability company, incorporating as a nonprofit organization. You would essentially file something called Articles of Incorporation that has your specific public benefit and your general public benefit right there in your founding documents.
Okay, so Manny, by default, I'm going to ask you, who does this? Like, what kinds of companies go through this process, either or both of the benefit corporation legal structure or B Corporation certification?
I'll focus on the B Corp, and I'll tell you why we started as Beneficial State Bank. We originally got our B Corp certification in 2012, started the process in 2011. As Andrea said, it's a pretty rigorous process. Why we did in the first place was, once, because it already aligned with the values of Beneficial State Bank. And what I mean by that is the transparency aspect of what we give to our clients. For us, you're not buying a product, you're buying a service. So our way of Beneficial State Bank saying, hey, we're mission aligned, we have great internal governance, we do the triple bottom line approach rather than just focusing on the profit bottom line, a certification of B Corporation just made sense. And organically, it grew through the amount of points that we have, because we were already doing those good things. We were just not certified by a third party to say, hey, you're actually doing it. And that's part of why we did it. It's just, for us, it's another way of measurement. For example, it's like our Community Reinvestment Act, or CRA, which many of you might be aware of on the banking side, is how banks are measured to go into the community and volunteer and show some impact to those more vulnerable communities. It's the same way we do the B Corp, so it can share our internal governance, our profitability, our vendors, and how we do business in general.
Yeah, transparency seems to be a huge reason why people want to become a certified B Corp, and there's a ton of other reasons as well. Maintaining your mission through ownership change is another really important reason why companies want to become B Corporations. The owner of Whole Foods actually spoke at our conference a few years ago when right after he was forced to sell to Amazon, and he was really irritated about the fact that he had to sell to Amazon, and he told us all that he wished he had actually made Whole Foods a benefit corporation or a certified B Corporation, because when you become a benefit corporation or a certified B Corp, you have to amend the bylaws of your company to take into account all stakeholders and not just the bottom line. And if he had been able to do that, he would have been able to sell to the second highest bidder and not the top bidder. So mission alignment and longevity of that mission is also another reason why companies undergo this route.
Okay. And I know that you've worked with, when you were at Sustainable, you've worked with a lot of companies, not just with B Corp, Benefit Corp, but also the Flexible Purpose Corporation.
Mm-hmm.
So in your experience there, what was a lot of the motivation for going through that process?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I feel like there's two parties. Or you're talking to two people when you're talking about B Corps or benefit corporations. They either get it or they don't get it. And the people who get it really get it, and they're just excited about it. I think the theme of the new purpose of business really resonates with the folks who align with benefit corporations, because they're like, listen, like the corporation is just an extension of self. Like, I wouldn't do this myself. Why would I let my business do this? You know, like poisoning rivers, slavery, like all of these crazy things that capitalism has kind of caused. So I think that it's doing business in a way that is authentic to how people's values, you know, they want to sleep at night. So, and I mentioned the specific public benefit and the general public benefit within the Articles of Incorporation, but also you have a legal right of action. So in the case of Whole Foods, where the founder didn't want to sell to Amazon because he knew the direction Whole Foods would get taken in. He has a right of action in the state of California, let's say it was, to say no. And if the shareholders try to do that, he can actually bring it to court. And that's revolutionary, because we don't have that in corporate law. It's legal dorks and geeks out there were just flabbergasted that this passed, because this is just, yeah, it was very antithetical to how a lot of people operate businesses.
Yeah, and the last benefit of certifying is just being able to benchmark your business. If you don't know where to start for sustainability, the Business Impact Assessment is a free tool that you can find online. You can literally Google B Impact Assessment, and you can walk your company through it without having to go through the certification process, but it will guide you in, how do you need to tackle the environmental impact of your business? How do you go against your customers? And it can help you really give a fresh start if you don't know where to start.
Yeah, and I noticed that they also now are mapping to the Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes, exactly.
Have you guys done that with your? Can you describe that process a little bit, or
Yeah.
did you discover anything new, or?
Well, it's more of a augmentation to the Business Impact Assessment in the fact that it's now relating back to all of these other standards. So the way that the Business Impact Assessment was formed is it is a holistic way to measure your business. So if you have, for instance, if you're operating out of a green building, you're going to get credit for that. If you're a social enterprise, you're going to get credit for that. It really does play off of all of these other international standards and combines them into one. And so the SDGs are obviously such an incredible international standard to measure against that it only made sense eventually that they would merge which questions really related to each SDG goal.
Okay. So here's the thing. So since we're just sort of getting our heads around B Corps, and what I'd like you to do, and you're gonna have to pick one of your many B Corp, but let's think about how your business specifically attacks, say, social or environmental goals through business practices, and maybe give an example for the audience. How does that actually manifest itself?
Yeah, I can start here. So on our side, Beneficial State Bank has an Earth Services banking team. So that hits environment. So we focus on Earth Services lending, where there's solar or carbon credits. We try to at least research on how to best do our banking services to those types of industries. On that same route, we have designated products for B Corps and nonprofits who are other side of doing good business, where we offer interest on accounts if you're simply certified a B Corp, regardless of balance tier. It's just a good practice to do. We have environmental policies to every loan that we do, meaning that there's an environmental questionnaire to that loan. Also to that, we have what we call a no harm banking model, which this is my favorite. I basically, so part of my role is every morning I wake up and I look at my portfolio of clients, and there's funds there, of course. So where I'm getting is with our no harm banking model, I know that those depository dollars that my clients have with Beneficial State Bank do not fund any lending on private prisons or predatory lenders, because that's contribution to us, and we won't do it. Even if the loan might be profitable, we say no, it's contribution. So those are parts of how we focus on being in touch with the B Corp and being true to ourselves, and just that transparency aspect.
So I'm going to share a tidbit actually at Lacey where the BIA came in handy. In June of last year, Lacey launched a $5 million venture capital fund for our portfolio, which was really exciting. Our LP was a foundation that obviously invested in Lacey because of our impact and the impact we ostensibly have. Although we've done a really good job on cataloging like our impacts in the green space, so how much GHG emissions are reduced, like the kind of more tech. We weren't super familiar with more of the social, that sort of impact. So we used the B Impact Assessment to essentially build out our fund framework, which I thought was really, really exciting. And when we presented it to our LP, in terms of the questionnaire, all of the due diligence that we do, our LP was like, this is amazing. Like, this is what a PRI should be. So we like built the framework for something that a foundation like didn't have to go and do themselves. So we were able to utilize the PRI to our advantage because we knew so that's my story. I get really excited about it.
That's so inspiring. And when we got certified, I most recently certified Arbonne, which is one of the top 25 largest B corporations ever certified worldwide. So it was a heck of a process, to say the least. It's safe to say the bigger the company, the harder it is to certify. So that was my greatest and latest. But as we went through it, what we realized was in our governance, we were above and beyond, and we really hit the mark. And when it came to worker welfare, we were doing quite well as well. So as we look to the future of the company, we're looking at supply chain transparency, really some aggressive goals against anti-plastic within our products. We have been carbon neutral since 2017, and we continue to do that, but we would much rather, instead of going down the offsetting route, find ways to become carbon positive through our own business operations, through insetting, and many other exciting things coming down the pipeline. So it's one of those things where you have to embed it into every aspect of your business, and for us, our focus is really on product and procurement at this point in time.
Yeah, so actually that brings up a really interesting idea because we were talking to Michael Crook earlier about the SEER model and all these different values that sometimes work together, but sometimes there's tension between them. And we talked about the tragedy of choice. Mm-hmm. And in theory, you can't do everything, although Beneficial State Bank seems to get close with that high score. Yeah. Okay. So maybe outside of Beneficial State Bank, well, how do you manage that? That sort of like that idea is that there's obviously everyone. It would be great if you could do everything, and max out all the points. But where do you decide that this is what we're going to focus on, and this is maybe a to-do later?
I think it's really important to stay true to the mission of your company. So Arbonne, for instance, was founded around clean beauty, but it was founded 40 years ago before clean beauty even became a trend, quite frankly. So we really wanted to go through this route and this lens of how do we ensure that we're uplifting these principles to ensure that the planet and both people are flourishing through these. So we're looking at regenerative agriculture, we're looking at our products, and that is what's guiding our compass because we're already doing pretty good in the other parts of it. So when you're looking at sustainability, you need to make sure it's aligned with the mission of your company. Otherwise, it's going to be inauthentic. It's not going to give you brand equity, and it's not going to give you the impact that you're looking for, both internally and externally to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So yeah.
And I would just add to that, the BIA is great in kind of helping you assess and plan what is attainable and what's not, right? Because it gives you, it's interactive in that you're answering these questions. I don't know if any of you have actually gone in and done a BIA assessment, but it'll give you a question and then it'll give you best practice. It'll even tell you how much you can get in terms of your score. And you can kind of you get strategic with how you want to be a B Corp and have it resonate with your mission.
Yeah, and if you're super competitive, it ends up becoming like your own adult version of a video game. You get to earn points.
Race to the top.
Right,
yeah.
Gamifying.
And I mean, B Corps are for-profit business. We're not disregarding the bottom line because we have to make money. We have to keep the lights on of the business. But then again, it's just the authenticity from the get-go. If you start with a mission-based, if you're a small business and you start that you're gonna be mission-based all the way, then it's not as hard to where you're 200 employees and all of a sudden you want to become a B Corp. Then it could be very difficult because you have to change so many things, maybe, if you're already not in part to it. So if you guys are starting a small business, just in my simple way of saying it is people come first, and just go from there.
Yeah.
And in terms of first of all, has anyone out there taken the B Impact Assessment? Someone? Okay, a couple of hands. All right. So how long a process is, because you just certified, right? And Arbonne is not a small company.
I certified 3 or 4 businesses last year.
Oh, wow.
Before this, I had a sustainable consulting firm that is a certified B Corp that helped companies become B Corps. So it really depends on what the size of your company is and how aligned you are with the movement of social enterprise going into it. And also, how much data transparency do you have into your business, and how much are your departments willing to share information and work together? Because the assessment looks at every aspect of your company, it's incredibly important to have key stakeholders within every department involved. If you are a sole proprietor, it's going to be a lot easier to move through it because you have all the information, you hold that. But if you're a 200, 300, 600 person business, you're going to have to deal with a lot of stakeholders internally to even just get the transparency that you need to be able to go through it. So long story short, it's usually about at least 6 months that you want to allot to it if you feel like you're in good shape and you are a very sustainable company. If you think you have a long way to go and that this is a roadmap that you're looking to go down and you're using it as a tool and a framework to help you, I would say at least 1 year to 2 years, because you are going to learn about the strategies that you can put in place for the short and long run to get you certified, but also to make your business more environmentally and social impact friendly.
And just because, have we scared everyone off Okay, so what are there market benefits to this as well, or is it just like internal mission validation?
Yeah, you get brand equity. I mean, it's the real deal. We live in a world of greenwashing where people, we do have strict guidelines around it with the FTC, but people say what they want to say, and you have to get caught to not say it, quite frankly. I mean, you've seen several cases of that we've talked about over the years. But this is a way to cut through the greenwashing. This is a verified third party for your entire company. It's the same as organic for your food. It's the same as LEED for your buildings, and it means that you are the real deal. And hopefully we're seeing a large amount of consumers actually starting to recognize the B Corporation certification thanks to the efforts of really large B Corps like Patagonia, Eileen Fisher. Beneficial State Bank has done an incredible job on the West Coast embedding it in the culture here. And so we are seeing a brand lift through it. And we have the power of purchase every day through how we spend our money. So I encourage all of you to support B corporations because that is how we will change markets in the future.
Yeah, actually, off of that, to maybe getting a little bit more philosophical, sort of, where do you see the B Corp movement today? I know that you and I have talked about the fact that, B Corp, it's sort of like the Marines, right? It's like not everyone makes the cut, and it's supposed to be sort of, a North Star for business in general. And at the same time, it has become more popular, or at least it's been popularized. So where are we now? And are B Corps at like an inflection point, or are we just sort of still at the incremental growth phase? Or
yeah, we are at an inflection point. It's like we've kind of reached that tipping point where the snowball effect is in effect, and you can't slow it down if you tried. And we're seeing this movement, especially towards multinationals. And most recently, October or September, the Business Roundtable had announced that they were going to take all stakeholders into account when they were making decisions. And B Lab and a bunch of B Corps stood up and basically put a $75,000 ad in the New York Times full page that said, okay, let's get to work and put your money where your mouth is, because if you want to do that, that's great, but we need to start taking action now, and we've been doing this since 2007, so where the heck have you guys been? So it's interesting, but there is a huge shift where we're seeing large multinational businesses really interested in this movement, but that also means that we need to develop a new criteria for measurement to ensure that the movement grows with integrity, because it's only really been measuring small to medium-sized businesses until now.
Right.
Go ahead, Manny.
And I was gonna add a little bit to the last question on how does it affect you market-wise or customer base. So the banking industry is a very fossilized industry. It could be very conservative in a sense. Some of the clients that we deal with, as soon as they see that we're a certified B Corp, it's like they relax. They let their guard down a little bit and say, hey, we trust you. We trust what you're doing, because these are your metrics. This is a third party auditing you, saying that you are doing good, and it's not just you saying that you're doing so. So in that way, we do get a lot of larger clients that want to divest from the top 6 banks and say, hey, now we have a totally different approach to our business. We want to at least align our financials, our banking, to a more social conscious, sustainable environment, and you're the person to go to talk to at the moment. At least on the banking side, I think we're one of almost 10 banks right now that are certified B Corps.
So to go to the latter question,
it's up to you. It's a buffet.
It's a buffet. Go ahead.
Choose what you will.
So what I'm really excited about with B Labs and the B Corp movement is more of the B economy. I think certification isn't for everyone, and it doesn't have to be for everyone, but this is a free resource that is really giving us the framework of what, like the people at B Labs spend a lot of time. They have a lot of consultants. We're basically coalescing all of this amazing industry knowledge, and it's a free tool. And so I think that's what really the movement to me is about, is not just the certifications and building an international scale. It's like, no, it's getting folks like you who maybe you won't even, you won't start a B Corp, or you won't think about a B Corp again, but just knowing that this resource exists and that there are companies that are trying to really do business in a different way.
And see who's out there, That's what I tell a lot of people who ask me about who are the B Corps, what are the B Corps. There's a website, bcorporation.net, Google by where, filter by the city, the state you're in, and you should be able to see the companies that are B Corps in your area, in your city.
that's how I found my first job at Sustainable Law Group. I found out about B Corps in law school. I Googled law firms, Los Angeles, B Corps, and SLG came up. So it's a really good place if you're not looking to start a company, but maybe you want to work for a company that is mission aligned to just, know about.
And there is a website called B Work as well, where all the B corporations in all the regions post all of their open job positions. So if you are looking to work for a B corporation, do check out B Work as well.
Okay, so I think from that level, is there a unique character to Southern California B Corps, still of local? Most people in the room are local, so if you're going to be patronizing B Corps, they're going to be local possibly. So, what is the character of Southern California B Corps, of your B locals?
We're very Southern California and the relaxed vibe that we have. We have a very young and diverse board, which is pretty cool. We have one of the most diverse boards actually in the country out of all the B locals. But we like to have fun, and we have a lot of events. You guys are all welcome to come to all of them from the B local side. We do like wine, and that tends to bring the crowd. So come drink some wine with us and talk about sustainable business.
So if you want to see the events that we are doing here in SoCal, bcorporation.la, go to that website. You'll see Andrea's, she updates the list. I know we're going to have someone there. There's a ton of events. Go there, and if you want to see who the SoCal B Corps, how we mingle together, then you're always welcome.
Yeah, and I think Patagonia is our god. So that has really set the architecture for a lot of how all the B Corps I feel like a majority of the B Corps that started in SoCal look to the Patagonia model as their real inspiration point. So if you don't know about Patagonia, which you all probably know about Patagonia, I feel like that was our archetype for a lot of us in getting involved in this.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. I don't think Iman likes it, but it's kind of, I think, Patagonia was the first certified B Corp to just, lay the foundation there.
Okay. So here's the thing. I would like to, we have 1 minute, and then I'd like to turn it over to Q&A if we could. So maybe some closing thoughts. And actually, I know, Andrea, you wanted to talk about how B Corps share resources or
did I?
Oh, maybe not. Okay, never mind. So let's have maybe some closing thoughts. Anything that that I didn't cover. Any ideas, or we can throw it open to Q&A, or Manny?
Yeah. What I would say is, at least the B Corp certification, and actually just the B Corp and products in general, have just opened my mind to a different market, or to at least think about how I'm spending my everyday dollar. I know that we started a campaign, B-Lab started a campaign, Vote Every Day, which is vote every day with your purchases. So every time I'm at a Trader Joe's or every time I'm at a Whole Foods, I sometimes take the time and just look at the back of the label, see who made it, and then I don't have to buy the product, but at least I'm thinking of where my dollar will be going to, or who my dollar is going to go to, and how it may impact the environment, social, or whatever your values are. But it just made me aware of where I'm purchasing and what I'm purchasing every day. Okay.
All right. So with that, let's open it up to Q&A. Let's have some questions from the audience. Do we have microphone runners or fast walkers? Okay. We've got up here. Oh, yeah, of course, it's going to be the farthest away. Okay. So let's bring it up. This guy. Was it Deanna? Yes. Okay.
So I have a question about what was the hardest part to the certification that you guys went through? For example, in your company, you said that the bigger the company, the more difficult it is. But what was the greater challenge that you see that maybe was to execute to be able to get those points?
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges is always making sure that you have all the data to back up your answers, because you get rigorously audited on all the questions. And the bigger the company you are, the more questions that B-Lab will audit you on. So with every question, there's about 4 or 5 subpoints with options that you can choose. The more that you choose, generally, the more points you get. But every point that you choose, you have to prove. So making sure that you validate all the data and get that up front is really, really important. For instance, we have thousands of SKUs in our company, and getting a product recyclability footprint or a product footprint from an environmental aspect for that is an entire exercise, and that's only one fraction of one question of 300 questions. So it gives you an idea of the rigor of what you're expected to give during the process.
Okay. Manny, is it, while the other person's getting the microphone, is it any easier for a services company than for a product company?
In a way, we're not certified the traditional way, but yes and no, because we still have to attest for all those backup policies and documents that we need to give B-Lab in order to prove our stance in terms of the pointage. Right now, I can tell you that we are going through a recertification process as we speak. We now have a B Corp designated team that's handling that, but we do. The bigger we get, the harder it is, basically. Right now, we're at about 230 employees, $1 billion in assets, and there's a lot of leg room that comes with the recertification process as well.
And he brings up such a good point, which we forgot to mention, that the business impact assessment truly is customized to the nature of your business. So if you're a product manufacturing company, you're going to have a very different track than if you're a service-based business. There are 72 versions of it based off of your location, how many employees you have, and the type of business that you run and the industry that you're in. So it really will help you, depending on what type of business you have, any type of business, there is a version for you.
Okay, let's go to the next question. Is it there? And then there's one over here.
Hi, Andrea.
Hi, Lisa.
So I feel like, sorry, I have a cold. I feel like there hasn't been kind of enough conversation about the extreme profitability of the B Corps. Unilever snatched up quite a few. I don't know if it was Paul Pullman or the current CEO, but he said that those companies outperformed his other brands by 60 or 70%. So I wanted to kind of get your take on that. I'm assuming, obviously, that any company that's going through this certification, it's not that they're looking to be more profitable, but it really is the way business is evolving. And then kind of part two to that question is, if a B Corp is acquired by like a giant corporation like Unilever, what are the dynamics of that change? Unlike Amazon acquiring Whole Foods, is there kind of this inherent respect or sovereignty for the B Corp based on what you said? If you could just kind of speak about that a little bit more.
Totally. I'm so glad you brought up Unilever, and it was Paul Pullman at the time, who is now actually leading the multinational track. So Paul Pullman was so in love with the movement. He came across it when he actually acquired Ben & Jerry's, who is a certified B Corporation. They're awesome. I'm sure you guys all know their ice cream. Who doesn't love ice cream? And so he became aware of the business and the B Corporation certification, and basically said that he wanted all of the companies within the Unilever portfolio to become B Corporations because he thought it was a way to future-proof the business against environmental and social change that is just inevitably going to hit the world. And it's coming at us very fast. And then the fact that they're making more money than the rest is because of brand equity, as well as really the connection that you see consumers with brands that actually resonate with their values. We are a value-based consumer market at this point in time. It's really important that you start buying based off of that. If we're all in this room, it means that we're here for a reason, and so we should align our money with that. And we've seen that with that, a ton of businesses are growing, especially within the B Corporation movement year over year with this. Paul Pullman has now since basically re-trajectoried himself into helping create the international standards for multinational businesses, which means that we can elevate the movement to the next level and make sure that businesses that are taking over the world are actually acting with integrity in every part of their operations. What was the second part of the question, Lisa?
I think it might have been the first part of the question.
Yeah.
Just like
the profitability.
sovereignty if you are.
Oh,
if you
yes,
are
when you have an
acquired.
acquisition.
Yeah.
And Anna, you might be able to speak to this better than I would, actually.
Yeah, so it depends. If you have a subsidiary that you want to get certified, the B Labs is going to focus on the subsidiary, but the parent company is also going to have to make certain disclosures, specifically, whether you're in certain trades, like the disclosure questionnaire at the end. So that's the main one. If you're the parent company and then you have subsidiaries, B Labs is a little more, they're not quite sure how to deal with that scenario quite yet, and I don't think that's been the case. It's mostly there's a parent and the sub wants to get certified.
Okay. There was another one. Oh, there we are. Excellent. Thank you.
I was wondering, you talked a little bit about the benefits of being a B Corp. I was wondering if there are particular challenges that B Corps face, whether in the startup phase or later on in the life cycle, raising capital, other things.
Yeah, so I'd be happy to answer that because this is kind of a philosophical issue that comes up a lot of times at the startup stage. And I've seen it go two ways. I have a founder who comes in and is like, oh, I'm super jazzed about B Corps, but I don't think investors will like it, so I'm going to do this later down the line. I promise you, they're never going to do it later down the line, because it makes sense, right? Because the type of capital that they're looking for is looking for an X, 3X, 2X, whatever it may be, and that's not going to be the same return that an impact investor or an aligned investor would want. So I always encourage people who are dancing with this, like, okay, like if you want to be a B Corp, know that some capital sources are going to be closed, but a lot are going to open up. I talked about the PRI, so when foundations are looking at investing in for-profits, impact investing is becoming this whole big thing and movement, and to be honest, there aren't a whole lot of metrics for impact investors to use. So if you can present, again, the more you can do for your investors, the happier they'll be. So I think it's just a matter of like knowing what you want your story to be, what your company's life cycle will. If you want to sell in 2 years, then you're looking for a certain type of investor. But if you actually want to build a brand and build a company, then you can definitely find capital.
To add to that a little bit, consistency and persistence on the business. If you're a startup, it's going to be easier to become a B Corp. But as you grow, if that's the intent of just you growing with the company and your investors are on board with that, the consistency of making sure that employees are being well paid, that the internal governance is being persistently the same or at least better, could add some challenge to the B certification.
Yeah, and just to Manny's point, we saw with WeWork, right? Like nothing illegal happened with WeWork, but it was just poor governance. And doing the BIA and being a certified B Corp will solve for that. So you can tell the story to the more traditional quotes investors that like, no, this is just how a good business is grown. And I think we're seeing that come to fruition.
There was a question back there and over there.
I currently work for a B Corp, so I totally respect what you guys are doing out there. My question is, how do you guys incorporate your employees right now to use that as an employer branding strategy?
Oh, that's a good question. Cultural adoption internally and also externally can be challenging, and we find that that's consistent across all the B Corps. As you get new employees come and go, or you have new leadership come and go, which it's supposed to protect against, you're still dealing with internal changes within a company that you face. So B Corps are companies. We are facing a lot of the same cultural adoption issues. There are a lot of ways that you can embed it internally, which I'm much better at this point in time, quite frankly, than externally. And that can be through job KPIs or internal trainings or lunch and learns. You really have to make sure that every employee feels like they're a part of the movement, that their job touches some part of it, because ultimately it really does. The business impact assessment measures every part of your business. So if you're in finance, you're still responsible for making sure that you're going to be a B Corp. If you're in marketing, you're still responsible for that. So I think internal cultural adoption starts with ensuring that the employees are educated and also empowered to make decisions based off of understanding what it means to be a B Corp.
What we do is one of the first interviews that we have, it's a culture interview. It's just based on not even a job description, it's just based on the culture and how, if you see that yourself that you're going to fit into the beneficial state bank umbrella, mission, values, and just along the way. So I think that's been really helpful on our end to retain employees for a long period of time, because right from the start they know what our priorities are and what type of culture we bring into our both internal and even clients.
And I would say, just to add, like, just the champion, right? Like, who's your champion at the senior management level, or who's the champion at the just figure? Is it you? Are you the champion? Okay, so I think it's really on you, friend, to kind of have
no pressure,
have the education, have all of the understand the BIA, understand how to empower your employees based on where your B Corp is at. So that's great that you do have a.
And come hang out with us at Be Local.
Yeah.
We'll help you feel empowered to go back to your business and do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Was there another hand up? Back over there.
So my understanding is that B Corps are only for for-profit organizations, but it seems like there's a similar need in the nonprofit space, maybe even for educational institutions. Can you comment on that, or is there any rumblings about something like that happening?
How I see, I'm gonna add a comment, and I may answer your question or not, but you can add. So Beneficial State Bank, it's owned by Beneficial State Bank, the for-profit side, is owned by Beneficial State Foundation, which is a 501c nonprofit. Now, why we got the B Corp is, how I see it many times is, we're trying to be the nonprofits, but the for-profit side of business. So we have the same values that the foundation essentially has, but we do have to make our clients service. We have to make money on this end. But then again, it's very similar. And that's...
Yeah, B Corps aren't here to put nonprofits out of
Right.
business, which isn't the right term. It just means that we're probably companies that are more prone to partnering with nonprofits because that aligns with our mission to enact environmental or social or community change.
But just to get back to this idea of a B economy and really leveraging nonprofits, academic institutions, like bringing us all together to say, hey, like these are the standards that we think are honorable. These are the standards that we see integrity in. That's what I'm excited about. And I do think that there are rumblings. Whether Pepperdine could become a certified B Corp, I don't think we're there yet. Unless, Rob, you're there's something I don't know about.
I refuse to speak for an entire university.
So maybe, but yeah, I think it's just all of us engaging in similar spaces that will help move that forward.
Okay, so no nonprofit or university B Corp certification yet.
No, but
We have another question back there.
Couple quick questions, and then I'll do a more open-ended one. How many? I got to take
Give
advantage
an
of
inch.
this.
Okay.
How many total B Corps are there in the world?
3,120, I believe.
And you need to score at least 80 out of 200 total points.
Yes.
What is the highest or one of the highest total points?
Right here,
I think that's important
176.
to point out that you have 170 what?
176 out of 200.
Do you know? Do you know what your Beneficial State Bank had started at with their initial score, and how did they get all the way up to the highest score ever?
I don't know what we started with, but I know we've been improving ever since we started in 2012, and it's just been through consistent practice. That going back to the certification process, it's just going to the process of like how we pay employees, new policies that the bank has adopted along the way that have just gotten our score up. For example, we've added a new policy where every employee has a reimbursement of $250 to adopt a pet if they want it. That gave us points.
What? That's awesome.
Right.
That's so cool,
I know,
Manny.
it's cool. I still need to do it myself. Things like that. For example, on our volunteering side, every employee at Beneficial State Bank has to do 32 hours a year of Community Reinvestment Act service hours of volunteering or just going to a program or for self-development. Just policies that have been consistently growing on our end have gotten us to the point we're at. It a lot has to do with the internal governance. Whereas also, to give another example, every employee at Beneficial State Bank makes at least 150% above market level of where they're at the moment, starting salary or starting hourly paid. So it just goes back to the consistency.
Okay. Well, that's all the time that we have. It's nice that we ended on a high note. That's fantastic. Congratulations, Manny, on that score for Beneficial. Thank all of you. Let's have a hand for our panel. Thank you so much.